important conversation that we as a city have been having and will continue to have about creating a permanent mechanism for citizen participation in New Orleans. I would like to thank the Zeitgeist Multidisciplinary Arts Center for being our host this morning, and invite you to come and attend the O.C. Haley Art Market, which is held here the second Saturday of every month. This space is a great space for all kinds of artistic endeavors, and we appreciate them putting this up this morning. This is the final event of a series of events we've had over the last couple days that Neighborhoods Partnership Network and the Committee for a Better New Orleans have been putting on to help inform our community about citizen participation programs. And I'd also like to thank the Greater New Orleans Foundation, which provided us with some resources to do this. I would like to acknowledge that the two co-chairs of CBNO are here, Father Jim Carter and Carla Sacaffi. They helped me tremendously in getting things like this put together. I'm going to just very quickly introduce our panelists, and then you came here to hear them and not me. So starting at that end, Don Lupo. Don is the Director of the Mayor's Office of Citizen Assistance in Birmingham. Allison Glasscock is a Neighborhood Association President in Birmingham. Mr. Bernard Kincaid is the former Mayor of Birmingham, and as I said last night, I'm convinced he should be the future Mayor of Birmingham. Valerie Abbott is a current City Council member from Birmingham. Doris Powell is a Neighborhood Association President in Birmingham. And Charlie Faulkner is a former hospital CEO and a leading business figure in Birmingham. So what we're going to do here is they're going to just talk a little bit from their varying perspectives about how the Citizen Participation Program in Birmingham, which has been around for well over 30 years, how it works there. We're going to have some question and answer, and I would certainly invite those of you sitting in the back, if you'd like to come up a little front. I've spent 2 days with these people and I haven't been bitten yet, so they're not actually going to jump down anybody's throats. So anyway, then we'll do some question and answer, then we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to reconvene, and they're going to talk to us about what they've seen and observed in the last couple of days here, and what their recommendations to us as a city are as we go forward over the next 6 months, working with the City Planning Commission to finalize design of the New Orleans Citizen Participation Program. So, with that, I'm going to hand it first to Mayor Kincaid, and then you guys can pass it around from there.
Thank you, Keith. Bonjour. Comment allez-vous? Wrong speech. Wrong. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everyone? It is an honor to be here in New Orleans as you start moving towards the development of your citizen participation program. We in the city of Birmingham have been at this for a while. In fact, starting in 1974 is the first iteration of our CPP. And it has undergone some changes from 74, 76, 78, 1980, and finally in 1992 we got it right. And the plan under which we operate now was really established firmly in 1992. And one of the tenets of our CPP is that it must be revised or we must take a look at it every 2 years. Our program is designed in Birmingham around the fact that we have 99 neighborhoods. 99 neighborhoods, geographical locations, 99 neighborhoods. And that works very well for us because our city council, we have a 9-member city council, and the council members are elected from districts. And so you can see how it's very important then to have geographical designations for your neighborhoods so that the council kind of knows which neighborhood is mine. And there is some claiming of neighborhoods through our process. But through our 99 neighborhoods, each neighborhood elects its own officers. It comes from members who live within that geographical designation for that neighborhood. we have an election every 2 years to vote on any issue that comes before a neighborhood. You have to be 16 years of age, or shall I say only 16 years of age. And that allows you to vote on any issue that comes before that neighborhood. In order to be an officer in that neighborhood association, you must be 18 years of age, must be at least 18 years of age, and have attended a minimum of 4 neighborhood association meetings within the past 12 months. In other words, you don't want a person to walk in charismatic and gets elected and not know anything about what's happening in the organization. But it does allow young people to take an interest in government. And that's very important, because if you are an elected official in Birmingham and you are not threatened by the CPP program, you realize that it is a way to develop leadership. I was a neighborhood vice president first. Then I became that neighborhood's president. And because our 99 neighborhoods would be cumbersome for the council members to deal with them, each neighborhood belongs to a community. Those 99 neighborhoods are subsumed under 23 communities. Some communities range from as little as 3 neighborhoods to as many as 8 neighborhoods in one community. Well, the community advisory board is made up of the 3 elected officials of that neighborhood that come into the community. And the community then elects from the elected officials within that neighborhood, within those neighborhoods, they elect a president. So there's a president of those 23, each 23 community has a president. Well, collectively, those 23 presidents represent the Citizens Advisory Board. The Citizens Advisory Board meets once a month in city council chambers, and they discuss areas that are common to those 23 communities. And the sole purpose of our CPP is for those individuals to be advisors to the mayor and council. They serve strictly an advisory role. They have no legislative authority, strictly an advisory role. And the reason that's important is because the city council's operating procedure is that if there's a liquor license application, if there's a zoning variance, those kind of issues must go through the neighborhood in which that business or that zoning application applies before the city council will even consider it. Now, to make that process very simple, a neighborhood at its meeting has to do 2 things. First, it has to have a sign-in sheet so that each person attending that meeting signs in by name, by address, and then checks yes or no, this is my first meeting, because that provides a record. There also have to be minutes taken by the secretary. But those minutes and the attendance sheets have to be advanced to City Hall not later than 10 days following that meeting. That's what our CPP calls for. So you can imagine then, there's an official record. If ever there is any discussion, there's an official record. Most of the time when our council looks at a liquor license or a zoning application, the first question that comes up is, has it been to the neighborhoods? And someone, usually the director of our Office of Community Development, will indicate yes, or the chairperson of that committee on the council will indicate yes, and the vote was thus and so. Just because a neighborhood voted for something or against something doesn't mean that that becomes dicta. Oftentimes the council has to take into considerations the ambit of its total knowledge to vote on that particular issue. So sometimes a neighborhood might vote yes for a liquor license and the city council votes no. Or the neighborhood might vote no for a liquor license or a zoning and the city council votes yes. But the neighborhood understands that it has been heard. And that's very, very important, that it feels that it has been heard. Our CP has been in existence for so long that business owners or potential business owners understand the process. And they don't view it as an onerous burden to them to go to a neighborhood prior to having it advanced to the council. And that works very, very well for us. And that way, you kind of stay in touch. And as I said, it provides a whole series of enlightened individuals. 6 of our 9 council members were neighborhood officers.
Wow.
6 of our 9 were neighborhood officers, just as I was a vice president, a president, a community vice president. Then I went to the city council, and then on to mayor. But you can see that it provides a cadre of individuals to come along that are well-versed in what's happening in the city. So the CPP is very important. I cannot stress to you enough that I know that in a city such as New Orleans that is trying to do it for the first time, you're going to gore somebody's ox. Okay, just understand that. Someone already has a neighborhood association that feels that power is going to be taken away from them if you start establishing new boundaries and start assigning new responsibilities. But imagine the citizens in those neighborhoods having a feeling that my voice is being heard by those who have to make the decision. In Alabama, by virtue of the Mayor Council Act of 1955, the city council is the governing body of the city. It is the policymaker body for the city. As mayor, then that mayor has to administrate and carry out those things. One last thing I'll say before I turn it over to a city council member with whom I served when I was on the council. The city of Birmingham provides support. You don't just elect officials and then expect them to become, I don't know, by some miracle, able to do what needs to be done. So our CPP calls for once every 2 years when that election is held, that there's a training session for those who have been elected to the leadership positions. Something as simple as Robert's Rules of Order, how to conduct a meeting, is very, very important if you intend to have order and not have chaos through the process. So that happens. In fact, Don Lupo speaks to the fact of one that he had just a few weeks ago, where the room was so crowded people had to stand around the room for a training session. That's how important that is. Lastly, in the city of Birmingham, through the budget, the general fund budget of the city, funding is provided to our neighborhoods, not directly in their pockets. There's an account held at City Hall for that particular neighborhood. And the neighborhood can use those funds as it sees fit. Now, that doesn't in any way negate the responsibility of the city to do what it's supposed to do. Police, fire, garbage pickup, those kinds of things, parks and recreation still go on. But what the neighborhoods are allowed to do is to embellish that which the city does. For instance, when I was mayor, the neighborhoods received $10,000 a year in the general fund budget. So every year, $990,000 was in the budget, and the council approved that. There was one stipulation. The stipulation was that the neighborhoods had to spend 70% of their funding on capital projects. A capital project is defined as something that lasts 10 years or more. And the neighborhoods could bankroll that funding. They didn't have to spend that $7,000 each year on a capital project. They might want to save it because some wanted to embellish a neighborhood park with swings or whatever. And some of our neighborhood officers will speak to some of the things that they have done with those funding. The other 30% could be used at their discretion, such as Get to Know Your Neighbor Day, where there would be some kind of function. They might purchase t-shirts or whatever. Or they might fund projects such as the neighborhood watch signs that will go into a neighborhood. Or they might go to the Neighborhood USA Conference for training. But that 30% could be used at the neighborhood's discretion. But the 70% had to be used for capital projects. Since I left office, that amount has been reduced that the neighborhoods receive, but that 70-30 standard is still applied. And so it really works. And the citizens then feel the power. They feel that they have a voice. Not heard exactly as they echo it every time, but at least there's a formal process. And business people understand that they work with the neighborhood associations in order to achieve their ends. It works beautifully. I mean, there are always glitches, and if you're insecure as an elected official, you hear the loud voice of these neighborhood officers that know what they're talking about, and they give you hell sometimes. But it is a process that works, and the citizens really, really understand and appreciate it. And one of the things that makes it work is having an enlightened council person. The council person that's here with us today started out as a neighborhood officer, as did 5 of her other 8 individuals on the council. And so I will let you now hear from Councilwoman Valerie Abbott, and she represents District 3. We have 9 districts. She represents District 3, the most affluent.